This weekend my friend Dan and I are off to visit Philadelphia. The forecast calls for a couple sunny 90-degree days, so we are packing light. Our flight leaves at 8 o'clock Friday night and we return Sunday at 7 p.m., which means we have 47 hours to pack and 25 stops on our itinerary. We met up at a light rail station near the Mall of America where we got a quick bite to eat before my girlfriend left after dropping me off. After grabbing a drink for the flight, we boarded and set off for Trenton, New Jersey, where we were spending the night couchsurfing before taking the train to Philadelphia the next morning. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
I'm Craig.
Hi, Greg.
My name's Dan.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
That's Harvey.
All right.
Harvey.
We got settled in Anna's spare bedroom around midnight on Friday while Anna chatted with us over some Yingling beer and wineberries before we called it a night. The original plan was to take the Amtrak to Philadelphia, but Anna ended up being free and decided to drive us down and spend the day with us. It was about a 40-minute drive, and it ended up saving us a decent amount of money and time, as we arrived in Philadelphia at 8 o'clock, an hour earlier than we had planned. The first stop was for breakfast at Reading Terminal Market. After taking a couple laps to see what looked good, we landed on Proffy's Creperie. Alright, go ahead and eat it. Sweet.
Which one did you get?
I got some advice to go to Independence Hall earlier in the day to avoid the long wait time, so we made our way over there next. You actually get your tickets across the street at the Visitor Center. It's on a first-come, first-served basis, and our ticket was for a 9:45 tour time. The tour itself is only about a half hour long. After you get a brief overview in the gathering room, you are taken next door to the courtroom. From there you walk across the hall to the Assembly Room where the Declaration of Independence was signed. After a few pictures, we walked back near the Visitor Center to see the Liberty Bell. Oh, here it is, Dan. It's not as big as I thought it would be.
It's part of the
A couple blocks south, we stopped by the Curtis Center to see the Dream Garden. We passed through some wedding decorations on the way to see the mural, which is comprised of over 100,000 pieces of glass in 260 different colors. Adjacent to the Curtis Center is Washington Square, which contains a monument and tomb of an unknown Revolutionary War soldier. Come here. Come here. Yeah, come here. Come here. We made it to Franklin Square for lunch right at noon. The plan was to grab food and relax with some mini golf that they had on site. Remember, it's cracked for a reason. What? Pretty much right next door to Franklin Square is the Philadelphia U.S. Mint. Unfortunately, the use of cameras is not allowed inside, but we were able to see some of the processes they portray on Discovery Channel's How It's Made, including how artists carve out the designs for the coins. Across the street is the Christ Church burial ground. We walked through the graveyard, finding a few headstones belonging to signers of the Declaration of Independence. We found Ben Franklin's tomb to be covered in change. One of the volunteers there told us that this was because some people believe he had coined the phrase, "A penny saved is a penny earned." We also stopped by Christ Church itself. A tour guide gave us a short speech, including pointing out the pew where George Washington would sit. Alright, Dan, give me your best George Washington face. From there we made a quick stop for ice cream at Franklin Fountain. I was warned that we might run into a long line, but we were luckily able to walk in and order right away. Next up was Elfreths Alley, which is the oldest continually inhabited street in America, dating back to the early 1700s. Meow. Meow. As we were about to turn north and head to the Fishtown neighborhood, Anna wanted to stop by Clay's studio and check out some of the local artwork. That's pretty good. You know what they say, Ben Franklin didn't build the Ben Franklin Bridge in a day. This was going to be our longest walk of the weekend, but the three of us were looking forward to checking out the area, including Penn Treaty Park. For dinner, Dan and I were really looking forward to getting a cheesesteak. What is chocolate soda?
So it's just a seltzer water with chocolate syrup.
Yeah, I'll do the strawberry soda, please. Yeah. We took some suggestions from the waitress and tried a couple different sandwiches. We all really enjoyed the conventional cheesesteak with an extra side of Cheese Whiz. Right around the corner from Joe's Steaks is Frankfurt Hall. It's a German beer hall with an outdoor courtyard and seemingly enough games of Jenga for every table. With a foosball and ping pong table, it would have been really easy for us to spend the rest of our night here. Barcade is just a couple blocks down the road from Frankfurt Hall and offers drinks and cheap arcade games, so we decided to stop by. It was time for us to head back downtown. Gearing up for our long walk, we decided to go through the Northern Liberties District. It was cool to see the artistic appeal of the area as we passed through. The sun was setting as we made it back to Anna's car. She was heading home, but not before she dropped us off at Spruce Street Harbor, which was Dan and I's last stop for the night. CSS Franklin Hall.
Is this like another version?
We walked around the harbor, checking out the restaurants and bar areas before we came across an area full of giant games like chess and Connect 4. We decided to stop for a bit and play around.
Nice job.
Dan and I ended up finding an arcade and played some dome hockey before we eventually called an Uber taxi to take us to our hotel. We made it to our hotel at 11:30. Extremely worn out from the day, we grabbed some food from the hotel restaurant and tried to get a good night of rest. Give me a minute. Sunday morning, we allowed ourselves to sleep in until almost 8 o'clock before grabbing breakfast at the hotel. We walked by the Comcast Center on the way to Love Park. When visiting a new city, I like to take note of at least one of the buildings that make up the skyline. Love Park was nearly empty, so we decided to toss the GoPro around to get a unique shot. It wasn't on our itinerary, but when we caught a glimpse of the board game art park across the street, we decided to have a look around. Philadelphia City Hall is the largest municipal building in the United States. We were hoping to view the city from the observation deck, but it was closed for the weekend. From City Hall, we walked southwest a few blocks for our second breakfast at Federal Donuts.
I like how it's coffee, donuts, chicken. Alright, show me your donut face.
Don't call it that. After the donuts, we walked to nearby Rittenhouse Square, which is one of 5 planned squares by city founder William Penn. Dan and I were both looking forward to our next stop at the Mutter Museum, which is a vast warehouse of displays showcasing medical oddities. This was another stop of ours that didn't allow us to use cameras everywhere that we wanted to. However, there is a pretty extensive documentary on the museum that portrays many of the exhibits that Dan and I saw. 2 of the exhibits that were very interesting to us were the Soap Lady, a woman exhumed in 1875 who died of yellow fever, and the story of the so-called Balloon Man and his 47-pound colon. After spending a little over an hour at the museum, we walked up the path along the Schuylkill River to Fairmount Waterworks. We were getting close to the end of our weekend, so we stopped in at nearby Little Pete's for lunch. Dan and I each got a sandwich and enjoyed the scenery on this gorgeous Sunday afternoon. After we finished, we walked across the street to the Philadelphia Museum of Art, where we looked on at a long line of people waiting to get their picture with Rocky Balboa. We also walked up the famous steps as we passed countless people racing down them. At the bottom of the steps across the road lies Eakins Oval, where a statue of George Washington riding a horse stands. Just beyond that statue, we found workers creating a giant mural on the pavement in preparation for opening the public space for the summer. Across the river was Dan and I's last stop for the weekend, Drexel Park. This was our last shot to get some pictures of the Philadelphia skyline and relax before we continued our way south to the 30th Street station to take the train back to Trenton. We are getting on the 2:30 train back to the Trenton airport. The train ride takes about an hour, which means we have plenty of time to catch our 5:30 flight. However, we found that some track work was being done, so we had to wait about 20 minutes for a bus to come pick us up and drop us off near the airport where we got some last-minute food.
Every time I see a Dunkin' Donuts, I think about Jim Gaffigan. Dunkin' Donuts! And he just says it in like a funny voice.
Where the bus dropped us off, we still had a bit of a hike with no sidewalks on the rest of the way to the airport, but we did make it quickly through security and right on time. We boarded our plane home, grabbed our seats, and were able to relax. Dan and I ended up packing in more than we expected this weekend. We visited 29 different places in only 33.5 hours of time spent in Philadelphia. Our total cost was $150 per person, including meals, travel, attractions, accommodations, and flight. For more information on any of the places we visited, or to see a cost breakdown of where I spent my money, visit www.craig.reviews.